So while we're waiting for some questions, you guys, we're going to have Frank go ahead and explain to us the 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder position of the radiator.
Okay, we're going to come over here to the cutaway car. We're going to show you on this setup, this is the stock V8 position, whereas the radiator is behind the core support, nearest the motor. So when they talk about 6-cylinder position, we are putting the radiator in front of the core support, which was leaving room for the original 6-cylinder engine. Now, when we do it today in the custom cars, it's mainly because we're taking a small block, moving it forward 3/4 of an inch, maybe for an HEI distributor, or we're putting a big block in the car, which is going to be moved 3/4 of an inch forward for firewall clearance and clear the radiator better. So when it's out here, we got also the cross-flow radiators, which cross-flow radiators are always going to be in the 6-cylinder position to make room for the pulley systems and the fans. So it's easy to get confused with that position because people are thinking you are actually using a 6-cylinder motor, which is false. It's just because you need more room for the pulleys, maybe a mechanical fan. You got more room for an electric fan on the back side for a puller. So that kind of trying to clear up things with the way people will be mounting motors, the radiators, and leaving enough room for everything, except for if you're doing something big with a blower and a big blower belt, then you may actually have to move the whole core support a little further forward. I don't know if we have any more other questions we need. We've got questions probably coming in from Facebook.
All right, next question. How do I take out the window regulator on a 55 hardtop?
So this is a cut down of a 2-door hardtop door. Mainly you're going to have to remove the vent window first because the window regulator is partially behind the vent window division bar. So you're going to have to take the trim off the front of the post here so you can get access to the screws, and then take the top here and down below on the middle of the door post down here, we're going to have to remove the stud from the inside of the door skin. Once this vent window is slipped out, then down below the glass, there's going to be 4 little panhead screws, one in each end of the window regulator track. You undo those 4 screws, and then it'll release the glass lower channel from the regulator roller, and the glass can be lifted out of the top of the door. And then you've got 4 panhead screws holding the actual regulator into the door skin, and then you can slip it out through the access hole at the bottom of the door.
All right, next question. What do I need to do for power steering on a LS swap?
Well, a lot of people are using both the power steering box, and some people are using power racks. Now, I just recently helped somebody do an LS swap with the CPP power steering box. Worked out fine with cast iron manifold headers, and we did use a custom pulley system, serpentine, with a mini power steering pump, and it worked fine. Everything cleared. Had a cross-flow radiator in it, which you almost are forced to go with the LS engine because of the hose configuration. Hope I answered your question on that one. We can actually help you more on the phone if you need more help.
So, can you explain the reason why the calipers are pink on that car?
Yeah, we actually, years ago when they first built this, they were supposed to do all the aftermarket parts in a fluorescent red. And according to, I guess, the powder coat shop misunderstood us, and they did it in a pink instead of a fluorescent hot red. And they just haven't been switched out yet, which they are due to be swapped out to a newer version. And another question?
Okay, 1 second. We are waiting for some more questions to come in.
All right.
Come on, you guys. I know you got plenty of questions for us, but so we're taking the time now to answer them. So type them on in.
First one to shake the
All right. What size rims do I need putting on a disc brake conversion?
Well, depending on the size of the disc brake conversion, for instance, this power steering conversion here is only about a 10.5-inch rotor. So this here can accommodate a 15-inch rim or some aftermarket 14s. But you can go anything bigger if you like. If you want to do a 17-inch or an 18-inch, it'll still work. But the smallest is going to be a 15-inch to a 14-inch aftermarket. It's we got other disc brake conversions that are larger that would require at least a 17-inch aftermarket wheel to accommodate the rotor and the larger caliper diameter. But usually when you get to those types of disc brake conversions, there is paperwork or on their website which will give you a template that will give you measurements, and you can figure it out on your aftermarket wheel or the company you plan on buying the wheel from. They should be able to help you with the template to let you know if it's going to clear or not.
Okay, next question. What is the biggest tire size that you can use on a stock car with stock rims?
Well, the rims, the stock rims are only 5 inches wide. So when you are going to a different size tire, the tire manufacturer is going to recommend the largest rim you can use with that tire, or the other way around, the smallest rim. So it's, the stock original tire is already about 27 inches tall, but it is quite thin. So you can, depending on if you do use a disc brake conversion that's going to push the wheels out a little ways on the front end, it does make a difference. So usually tire manufacturers or tire stores should be able to help you with that.
What happens if you use a tire that's way bigger? Will that affect then the ride? How it?
No, actually, the tire with the more sidewall is going to give you more cushion on the street and a little bit more comfortable ride, opposed to going to a large, low-profile tire that gets a little harsher. You feel the ruts in the road, the potholes in the road a lot more if you go with something like that.
Okay. Let's see here. What is the largest rim I can use without any modifications?
Typically on these cars, as long as your rear end is a stock width rear end and the front disc brake conversion or your drum brakes is not pushing the wheels out, we normally use nothing wider than a 7-inch rim in the front, and typically with the tracking stock will be a 4-inch back spacing. And then in the rear with a stock rear end, you can go up to an 8-inch rim with a 4.5-inch back spacing. That would keep your tires away from the wheel wells. You can change that up when you change up the rear end or the tracking. So that's what it calls for the stock tracking on these cars.
Okay. So now we have a question about the dash trim, Danchuk's dash trim. If we use the 55 dash trim on a 56, can I use the 56 dash trim on my 55? So I think they just want to see if we can swap it.
Yes, the dash trims are actually stamped out the exact same dimensions. It's only a facial difference between the two. Chevy went from having the bow ties in 55 to putting straight lines on the 56, but the actual dimensions are exactly the same. And people do it all the time. I see 55 dash trim and 56s mostly.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Good to know. All right, let's see here. Derek Turner has a question. Do you have a 15-inch rim that will accept stock hubcaps for a rear disc brake conversion?
As long as the disc brake conversion is the standard 11-inch or smaller, yes. And There is right now a current issue with the manufacturer on them that we're trying to work out. The rims are supposed to be able to take a Bel Air hubcap or a 210 hubcap. Currently, the issue's with the Bel Air hubcap. So they are hoping to have those back on the shelf soon, but they should have no problems with them.
Okay, great. All right, Will has a question. Is it better to move my leaf springs inside the frame or cut it and put the pocket kit? Or put the pocket kit, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, years ago, before the pocket kits came out, people used to move the leaf springs all the way onto the other side of the frame. And the issue with that was it makes the back end of the car a little bit unstable because now you're moving the leaf springs closer to each other. So they came out with a pocket kit so you can keep the leaf springs a little further out and stabilizes the car. So we suggest the pocket kit nowadays for that type of situation.
All right. Next question. I have a 1955 with a 350 with a stock radiator with a fan shroud and a 9-inch blade fan, and it keeps overheating. What can I do?
Well, with overheating issues, there's a lot of things that can cause that besides just getting the fan shroud put in there. You could have the fan blades in the wrong position. The radiator could be a small core radiator, or radiators do get clogged up after time. Even the timing on your engine can make an issue with the overheating. There's so many different things that could cause a car to overheat. But it's important with a 350, you should have a 4-core minimum radiator. And of course they have high efficient cores nowadays in the 4-core. And having that radiator fan, making sure the blades are decent sized blades makes a difference. Making sure the fan blades are only halfway in the shroud, halfway out of the shroud. I know without air conditioning, it shouldn't be an issue. My own 55 with a 350 crate motor never had a problem, and it cooled much better once there was a shroud installed. But once you do air conditioning, then that's gonna make things worse, of course.
Thanks. All right, Michael Kurtz has a question. What are the right leaf springs to get for a spring pocket installed? And what way are the eyes of the leaf springs supposed to go?
Well, stock springs, they don't change the eyes of the springs. I don't believe the pocket kit is going to determine which leaf spring eye that you use, but when you do buy lowered leaf springs, usually one of the eyes is reversed, and that is going to pull the spring further up into the pocket. I've never heard of anybody having a problem with the reverse eye in a pocket kit. Matter of fact, I think there is some people that sell kits with the lowered leaf spring included with the pocket kit. So I don't see any issue doing the lowered leaf if that's what you require to get your kit together. That one, like I said, nobody's ever had any issues with. And like I said, to get a lowered leaf spring properly done, it's going to have a reverse eye at one end for sure.
For those of you that just tuned in, we are answering your questions live here with Frank. And so if you have a question, just go ahead and type it in, all right? All right, the next one we have here is why did they say it was hard to put rack and pinion with headers?
Well, the biggest issue right now is the header companies have not perfected a header to work with a certain application. We have found that even the one header that we carry is going to require making sure that the universal joint is close enough to the firewall so it even clears the first header tube. The tolerances are really close, so it doesn't take much to have the engine a little too far forward, a little far behind, and it can cause two other issues. It's just so precise of measuring that it may not work. You can usually put a steering box in, and remember the new steering boxes of today have the technology, the newest technology, that almost is as good as rack and pinion. I mean, they're internally much better than they used to be years ago. With the rack and pinions, it's just not a big enough selection of headers today. Our one header will only fit with automatic transmissions. You can't use it with a stick shift. It's just, there's too many restrictions, so people have a hard time with that.
All right. What is the difference between a one-piece bumper and a smoothie bumper? And do they mount the same, or do I need different brackets?
Usually when we refer to a one-piece bumper, we refer to a bumper that Chevrolet manufactured in one piece with two bumper guards still on it, and the bumper bolts are still showing. That was a California-made bumper that when we refer to a smoothie bumper, that's taking like one of those, they used to take the one-piece California bumper, cover up the bolt holes, shave the bumper guards off, and now you got a custom one-piece smoothie bumper. And of course, Danchuk has over the years made custom brand new smoothies, so you wouldn't have to go through that trouble of welding all the holes up, getting rid of the bumper guard holes, and smoothing out the indentations for the bumper guards. So yeah, you can get confused with one piece and smoothie easily. You just gotta think that one piece might be still a stock bumper.
Thank you. All right, Kevin Mitchell has a question. It's my 57 horn ring rattles. What do I need to do to fix this problem?
If it's the entire ring that's rattling, it might be missing a piece underneath the horn ring that fits up against the steering wheel. There is a spacer in there, and I've seen different thickness of spacers over time, so it's got to be matched to the three posts that are actually holding all that assembly together. If the spacer's too thin in relationship to the three posts, then the horn ring will be loose. And then if you get too thick of a spacer in relationship to those three posts, then when you tighten up the three screws, the ring's going to be compressing down on the spring plate, and actually could honk the horn right away as soon as you tighten the screws up and stay honking. So there's so many little pieces in there that they ought to be all in sync with each other. Sometimes you're forced to buy a new kit to make it all work.
All right, thanks. All right, Greg has a question. Is there an easy power steering upgrade like electric ones on new cars?
We currently don't have an electric power steering here. I have seen them working with them. The electric unit would go in front of the firewall between the steering box and the firewall. They're not real presentable looking, but I don't know personally anybody who's actually been using one and how good they actually work. But there is one or two companies producing something. I just don't know if they're producing it directly for the Trifive Chevys right now.
Maybe in the near future they might.
Yeah, I mean it's the problem is how many people have actually used it, made it, and perfected it to work. It may be a universal electric power steering at this time.
What is the difference between a 500 box and a 600 power steering box?
Basically, when you refer a 600, or they sometimes even call them 670, that's what the Delphi company has named their box. The 500 box is a replica of the Delphi 600 box, but of course, since it's not a genuine Delphi part, they're not going to be able to use the 600 or 670 series number. So legally they have to change it to the 500 series box. But internally, the workings of the box is the same as the Delphi 600.
All right, let's see here. Just a second, guys. We're waiting for more questions. So go ahead and type in your questions. Oh, okay. You have a lot of different stereo selections. when it comes to music, what is the best one for my 57 two-door, I think it's two-door hardtop?
We currently have two different manufacturers of radios. We've got one company who, Custom Auto Sound, they make stereos. They have a couple of radios that look similar to original radios. They have a lot of options for iPods. They have, you can hook your iPhones up to it. You can play all your music through your phone chip in your phones. But the other company, you can actually add your phone to the actual radio. The radio is going to look more factory looking from the other company. It actually, you almost can't tell the difference between an original radio and their radio. But it is stereo, it's AM and FM, and you do have auxiliary jacks to hook up into it. A little bit more expensive than a Custom Auto Sound radio, but the Custom Auto Sound radios, they do look 50s looking, and same thing, AM and FM stereo with preset buttons for your radio stations.
All right. Next question from Clifford. Are there any plans to make the rear wagon Nomad Bison's light bumper guards?
Which year?
Doesn't have a year here.
Because we do have 55, trying to remember now, because we do have a couple of years, but yeah, I think there still is one more year that we're not making quite yet. That'd be something I'd have to look into for us, if anybody's in the works of making one. But there is a couple available right now. We'd have to know what year that the station wagon bumper guard is.
Okay, so Clifford, if you're listening, go ahead and give us a call here and let us know what your car that you have so we can help you out. All right, well, thanks guys. It's about that time now, and thanks for watching, and thank you, Frank, for answering those questions. And we will be back next week. So give us a call next week so we can answer more technical questions for you. Okay, it's been fun.
All right.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.